Welcome back to Scinary Information Nexus, your podcast of sin.
Welcome back, everyone. We are today joined by my colleagues, as usual. Tal Valdis, our Director of Operations. Say hello.
Hello.
And Brazos Wortham, our Director of Strategic Initiatives. Say hello.
Howdy.
And today we have a special guest, Brian Kane, Global President of EDR of the world at Malwarebytes. Did I get that right? Please correct me if I did not.
Close enough. Present and accounted for.
Well, hey, thanks for joining us, dude.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming, especially today because this was supposed to happen like an hour and a half ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for anyone watching and listening, Brian does not drink alcohol, but I do. So thank you for staying in the pub with me for a little bit.
Absolutely.
He's taking the Mario spot, taking the Red Bull today.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If it makes you feel any better, I don't drink either anymore.
If Red Bull's listening, I'm open to a sponsorship.
Let's go.
He listens to the podcast.
Red Bull sponsor us.
Yeah, Red Bull sponsors.
Yes.
So Brian, again, thanks for coming down. We know you. We've known you for a couple of years now, but please talk to the ladies and gentlemen that are listening, all 5 of them, you know, what you do, where you're from, how you got here in this actual room.
Yeah. So, it's great. Phoenix has a direct flight to Dallas.
Direct flight and then a 2-hour drive.
Right.
A 2-hour drive.
Yep.
But no, so I've been really in the IT industry for over 20 years. I've done everything from like field systems for Alaska Airlines to, hooking up speaker cable and reel-to-wheel machines like in a recording studio.
Right on.
Sleeping in school districts next to their AS400s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hoping that a tape backup restores.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a pin in the AS400 because that was my jam back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
That was my jam.
I got to use that for a little while. It was fun.
Man, we were talking to somebody just the other day and they were like, can you secure an AS400? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe. By not connecting
don't
to
plug
the
it in
internet.
there.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep it unplugged.
So how did you wind up at Malwarebytes?
Sure. So I took a bit of an interesting journey. So I've back and forth in and out, been in and started my own MSPs. So my MSP journey is I've always come back to it, even when I've gone over to like corporate IT and infrastructure. I've always come back to MSP, and I think the reason is, my heart just absolutely bleeds for the fact that most small businesses and most companies out there that are, probably under 500 employees or so, they don't have the representation from an IT perspective. They don't have a CIO, CTO, CISO, and a full staff of those kind of people to not just support them, but help them make informed decisions.
Yeah.
They don't have the expertise on staff to make choices.
Right.
And so I've always felt strongly that good, honest MSPs should exist to truly help those companies, not just to sell them on a service or sell them on a product, but absolutely sell them on like, we're here to help you and give you the same type of advice, protections, and guidances.
We've got
that a
the
company
institutional
needs.
knowledge that you may be lacking.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, we're not saying that you're not competent or capable. It's just we've got some more institutional technology or institutional knowledge that could be brought to bear on your organization.
Let us fill the gap kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
And there are things where as an MSSP or MSP, the internal IT folks, they may have a really good understanding of one particular thing. For example, in education, a lot of their work is repairing Chromebooks and working on ensuring just the network is up and running, but have no great understanding on the security aspect of things. So being able to come in as, hey, we're the security guys. Let us take this burden off your shoulders because it's still very important.
Yeah, and for the sake of full disclosure, Scinary is a partner with Malwarebytes in their enterprise solution, Threatdown, but that's not why you're here. You're here because we like you, and we want to talk about the impact of MSPs.
Absolutely.
Right. And so one of the things that I think it would be interesting to go down, you've owned MSPs. I think you own one now as well. Of course, we're an MSP. Talk about the road of somebody that wanted to be an MSP. They're a brilliant technology person, maybe networking, firewall, whatever. What path did you take, and what path could they take to kind of start their own business and get involved in the MSP process?
Sure. So I'll talk about this. So I'll give a quick background. So I lived on the franchising side of things for quite a while. So I got to be involved in opening, starting, and even sometimes converting businesses into MSPs. So there's typically two journeys that I've seen. One is, hey, I'm a technologist. I know what I'm doing. I feel like I could probably do this better. And so I want to start my own. I want to build it and turn it into this. The alternative, and this isn't necessarily a bad road, is you have someone who maybe has money to invest, came from some capital, cashed out their retirement, whatever it may be. And they go, I don't want to just try to live off of this retirement. I want to build something again, or I want to do something cool that could provide a lifestyle and all these things. And so there's two paths to get there that I think are the more common paths. So I took the technical path. So I was working for a company for a while and doing more like tech support. And as I dove into it, what I realized I was working with companies of all different sizes. And when I was working with their internal IT staffs we were doing more, again, like outside support, like call for emergency kind of thing, but it wasn't managed services.
Right.
Okay. This was more just like outsourced support. What I realized was, I think there's a different way to do this. And I feel like there's a need and there's a gap here that a lot of these people don't know how to fill or can't afford to fill. And so I initially came up with something called SHAPE. And so it was System Health and Performance Evaluations.
Dude, that's brilliant.
Nice, yeah.
Hey, write that down.
And so I went to our first, one of our kind of break fix customers, and I said, hey, what if I told you, and again, keep in mind, back in the day, this was very manual. We didn't have RMM, we didn't have all this stuff. So I was like, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to create a tunnel into your sonic wall. We're going to use MMC attachments, and we're going to go and we're going to pull data. We're going to remote into machines. We're going to get patch statuses. This was all manual.
Yeah. Wow. What, circa
2003, 4.
Okay. Yeah. Early on. Yeah.
Yep. And so I was like, there's something to this. Now, granted, as manual as that was, it was complicated in the beginning, but as things evolved, what I found was there was a massive appetite for this. Now, one of the things that I talk about regularly to people is IT 15 years ago and 20 years ago, and IT now, when it comes to security, is very different.
Right.
So
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's so different. So again, I went down that tech road and basically stood up my own versions of this, and then eventually evolved into kind of that modern MSP.
So I think it's important to point out that what you created didn't exist, at least at large scale.
It didn't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, you had the old form was very much like, hey, my IT department is my IT department. I'm not going to outsource anything. Everything's internal. Yes. We're going to run everything. I mean, we still run into some of those guys from time to time, the IT administrator that's been there for 30 years. And we come in and say, hey, we're going to offer support. And they don't want us to touch their baby. We understand. But yeah, that for a long time didn't exist.
But I think that's important for anybody thinking to get into the MSP space is what makes you different.
Exactly.
What do you do? Right.
And because the thing that I had seen at the time, even back then, everything was very specialized. So, you had people that knew SQL.
Right.
You had people that
your
knew
firewall guys and
but those things didn't touch. Like the guy that managed all the sonic walls had no idea how to manage Microsoft Active Directory.
Right.
And so I think what evolved
which
out
in
of
2003 was kind of a newish thing with domain admin and all that.
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what evolved out of this, I think, speaking, and I think, Richard, you probably saw a lot of this too, is, this is where that generalist started to like evolve is, hey, like people who wanted to understand all of those pieces. I want to understand system administration. I want to understand network infrastructure engineering. I want to understand this. Now, do you have to be a perfect expert in all of it? Not necessarily. You can work with those specialists, but the difference and where it changed was someone could look at the big picture.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And depending on the environment as well, right? So for me, it always depends on the environment and the complexity as far as what you need to be an expert in and what you can just kind of know and get by with, right? On that. But I think, again, the key thing is you developed a niche. Like that niche may have not have existed, at least in your market space, wherever you were targeting on that. You developed that niche, and it was what I'm assuming is once you started to go to market with this idea, is that people said, "Oh wait, yeah, that's a good idea," right?
Exactly. It was foreign.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, "Who does this for you?" And a lot of times they were like, "Well, no one." Like a guy came in at one point and set it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they left.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, "Well, who maintains it?" And they're like, "Maintain?"
Yeah.
That's where you get your deferred maintenance.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
But remember when the time frame that Brian is talking about is early 2000s. I mean, we're talking 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And in the technology sphere, that may as well be 1,000 years
Well,
ago.
it's literally like the infrastructure that was running there, and we run into it still to this day in some cases, but in the technology world, that's as much the dinosaurs. I mean, a lot of times you run like AS400 you were talking about. We run into them from time to time, but it's like that is literally archaic. Same thing with, for example, we ran into a Novell deployment.
Oh my Lord.
It's like,
Yeah.
no one
in production.
Yeah.
Oh
in
my gosh.
2024.
The day I had to tell Richard about Novell, I was like, Richard, it's Novell. And
Yeah.
he was like, what?
The only exactly the same thing. The IT guy was one of those old school IT guys, been there for 30 some odd years, and Novell was his thing. He knew it inside and out. New tech director came in and was like, I have no idea. I don't know what this is.
I had to scrape the bottom of the barrel on my phone and my contacts to find a dude, crusty old dude, 65 years old, to agree to, you're a Novell admin? No, nobody uses Novell anymore. And I was like, just call this school and walk them through, you know, how to start migrating from 80. 80 is the devil. It was terrible. It was
think I
terrible.
could
But
argue with him on that one.
look, that exists. That exists whether we want to admit it or not.
Yep.
That deferred maintenance, all that antiquated technology exists.
I'll tell you, as crazy as it sounds, like you're absolutely right. It still exists today. I won't name names. I'll protect the parties involved. What I'll say is this. You
can say it allegedly at the end of that, right?
Reportedly. Reportedly.
Within the last 18 months, I'll give a range. I've walked into a large medical facility that obviously they invest heavily in their equipment and things like that. That was attached to a machine that was running Windows XP.
Oh, yeah.
That was connected to the network.
Yeah.
That was still running old share drives off a NAS in a closet somewhere.
You see that?
And I went to ask them, I was like, so like just number one, I just want to be clear, like this is a no-no.
Yeah.
Like not just a little no-no. Like this should not exist in any way, shape, or form here. And their answer was, and I get this, well, do you know how much that machine cost? I'm like, how much? They're like, $3 million.
Yeah.
I'm like, great. But I said, here's what I'm gonna ask you. When did you put that machine in? And they're like, like 14, 15 years ago.
Right.
And I said, okay, how much money have you built off that machine in 14, 15 years?
Man.
Okay.
So
Are you going to tell the fact story?
I was going to. But what I will say is that antiquated technology, what you just described is a Tuesday for us.
Yep.
I mean, that is our MSP. We deal with that day in and day out. And the reason why our clients deal with us is part to shine a light on that stuff, because what they want to know is, what don't they know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. That's the part of what we do is education to our clients, because our clients rely on us to be the experts, which is, in security. That's a tall order for all things security. But in our marketing vertical, which is K-12 and local government, I mean, we're pretty solid in that.
Well, yeah, going back to what Brian was saying in terms of being that person that is consulting them and helping them out with those types of decisions. Sometimes those things are in place not because they don't they're ignoring the vulnerabilities to it. It's they literally do not know the problem that actually causes them, or the potential problem.
What I've seen sometimes too, and this goes back to like what you talked about with education. Sometimes, let's say they do an assessment, they bring a company in. What they get in response, and I've seen this a million times, they just get a quote. They get a quote for a ton of new equipment,
right?
New software,
Yes.
new
Yes.
stuff. You have to switch everything out, versus someone coming in and talking to them
And consult.
about why certain things need to happen. I think the assumption sometimes, and I'm going to say this, we're all IT people here.
Yeah.
All right. Sometimes the assumption is people are too dumb to understand this.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with my Seagull method of technology consulting?
I'm not.
Okay, so the Seagull method of technology consulting is this.
The team is laughing over here, and I'm just
because
I'm ready for what's coming.
They know I hate this. You swoop in, you squawk a lot, you shit on everything, and then you leave.
The Seagull method.
The Seagull method,
Seagull method
of consulting, right? Nobody likes that. And what we try to do is we understand the constraints that the clients are up against, right? So we work with them and say, okay, we understand you've got a Windows 2000 NT server that I haven't seen since the Clinton administration.
Well, and you applaud them first, the fact that it's still standing.
Yeah.
You're like, good job.
And we don't know why, because every port in the world is open to the internet.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the squirrel that was in the attic got struck by lightning, and the fax server's still running.
Yes.
And the only reason that they need that server is because the fax program that's on that server cannot be migrated to a newer version. And the octogenarian, the 80-year-old business lady that has used that for 40 years, is unwilling to migrate to a new solution.
Yep.
It's an anecdote, but it happens more than you would think.
All the time.
And that's where I think, like an MSP that understands all of that, it's just not about selling, the brand new shiny stuff.
Well,
it's about coming in and saying, we can enhance your capabilities here. Yeah. And I know you can't move off this particular technology. Let's talk about putting it on its own VLAN, maybe doing some
risk mitigation.
Yeah.
Yes.
I understand
absolutely.
your situation.
Yeah.
I still want to protect you. Let's find a way to do this.
Yeah, in
exactly.
a more reasonable manner. And going back to your exact point on getting just a quote from people, we actually dealt with this the other day. An institution of higher education, which we work very closely with from an MSP perspective, they have a lot of antiquated equipment, and they've been meaning to replace a lot of that stuff. Well, they went to Dell and asked, hey, this is what we have. We need to actually modernize and go into the new era. Dell said, okay, cool. Wrote up a quote with a bunch of stuff that they get. The organization gave them an inventory of what they had. Dell took that, gave them a quote for everything to modernize this whole network stack. And it was ridiculous. You're talking $700,000, if not more. And they came to us and they said, this is the quote that we got. We need to spend the money, but we don't really know if this is the right way to go. And Dell was not offering that consulting piece because they would they wanted them to buy that. From an MSP perspective, we have more of a incentive to offer you like an actual, like the consulting arm and being your partner, because at the end of the day, we're service first.
Well,
right?
it's an objective third-party opinion on what corporate is maybe trying to, in a slick AM, is trying to push, right, to hit a sales quota for the quarter.
Yeah.
Right? Because that happens. I talk about there's some really slick AMs out there that can really push product, but are they really solving the issues? Now, most everybody that we deal with on the third party side, we're a channel partner for those guys, and I view our primary responsibility is to make sure the client actually needs this thing in the configuration that the third party is pushing. And is there another way we can accomplish this without spending $500,000 on it?
Well, and what you're buying there is trust.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a great example. And this is a school district. So I used to do a lot of high-end like network infrastructure engineering. Walked into a school district, and there were 7 schools across this district. So imagine every single MDF, IDF. There was probably 300 switches, a couple different sets of APs and all that kind of stuff. So they came to us and they were like, we bought all this equipment a few years ago. We just have never felt like we've seen the improvement, all this stuff. So I said, okay, well, can we take a look? So go on site. These are no joke. These are like top line, like Catalyst.
Oh yeah,
like the best switches in the world. But no, this is where it's going to get you. This hurts my heart.
If you mention E-rate,
no,
okay,
no. So get this though. So these people bought all this stuff, paid a team to come out, put it all into all this. I'm not joking. I literally walked into the server room. I knew instantly without even blinking. All of the fiber channel was connected and hooked up. None of the equipment in any of the schools was. They were still running on their old
stuff.
switches.
Yeah.
Nothing had been moved.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars in switches for 2 years had been sitting there. Sitting there.
I will contend that the reason why we see a lot of deferred maintenance, especially in K-12 and local government, is because people are hedging against that kind of shit right there.
Yep.
I'm not really sure, but I'm pretty sure somebody's trying to screw me over.
Yep.
Is the mentality.
100%.
And they don't have the expertise to truly understand what they need and what they don't.
This is a district with thousands and thousands of students being run by 2 people.
Yeah.
2 people.
Yeah.
And neither one of those people are network infrastructure engineers.
Right.
Yeah. All they know is when the guys left, everything was still on.
Yeah.
That's what they knew.
Exactly.
Well, we went in.
Probably a school coach.
Yeah. This was probably last year. I was sent out. It was a local organization here in Texas, and the person that was running the IT, this was a relatively smaller rural district, but the person that was over IT in that district was the superintendent. Really, really nice lady. So we went out there. We were going to set up all of our devices, and I remember when we got into the network room, the MDF. We started looking around, and we asked her a question. She's like, to be honest, I have no idea. It's running. I don't touch it. It's good. Well, after some basic stuff to figure out, and keep in mind, this was a very small school. We're talking maybe 400 students maximum. And they had actually set up an entire, their entire network was all running on a slant 8 network. Slant 8. Like at 300 students, and I guarantee you what happened is they probably had a slant 24 at some point in time, or maybe even something smaller than that, and then they hit the barrier and it broke. So they probably did some investigation and were like, oh, it's because we ran out of IP addresses. How do I not run out of IP addresses? Oh, there's one with like 16 million IP addresses. I could just assign that and we'll be good forever. So 10.0.0.0 slant 16. Slant 8. Like, so, and then they were good. But it was one of those things where when I took a look at it, I was like, this is wrong. Like this is not set up correctly. And luckily we actually did have, we were doing on the security aspect, but we had a partner that was more of the traditional MSP, like networking. And we were able to call them and say, hey, this is the way this network's set up. It should not be set up this way. Can you call and get some help? And the same idea with, you were talking about like all this networking infrastructure. They weren't even making use of it. They had a super nice FortiGate that they probably sold through E-Rate.
Yeah.
None of that was in use. They were literally using it as a Soho router. Like they'd plugged it in, but it wasn't doing anything. It is like, okay, you need somebody to come in here and actually help you guys out, because you are honestly spending more money buying all this equipment that you're getting no use out of.
In my brain, like I'm just like envisioning like opening up a laptop and like trying to run like an IP scanner to like find a printer or just something crazy or an IP phone, and realizing that like they're like 4 million IP addresses apart.
Oh yeah,
because DHCP is enabled across 16 million IP addresses.
It is literally just we need to make this thing work, and that's how they do it. And we've ran into that whole thing where you were saying not making use of it. We've had organizations buy expensive equipment and they just not use it, and it's because they don't know how, or they don't know how to set it up.
So there's two things that are like pet peeves to me that make me super angry in the IT world. So one is kind of the first thing I alluded to, which was people being sold a bill of goods and like never actually getting it set up or anything. So someone straight up taking advantage of someone who doesn't know better, because you don't walk away from that and not know what you just did.
Right.
Like that's the one. Then the second is, again, kind of like you were alluding to, the oversell. It's, hey, we've got a new office we just set up. We primarily work in the cloud. We just need access to do this, that, and the other. Great. Those people, they do not need 36 gigs of RAM and Core i7. Everyone on that staff does not need a $4,000 computer.
Exactly.
And things like that, based on what their needs are.
It's like, have this Chromebook, have a day.
Yeah, but like, it's, again, if you're an architect, if you call me and say I'm an architect and I'm running CAD and I'm doing all this, great. Go build that dude an $8,000 computer and let him do his thing. But the oversell kills
I think one of the advantages of an MSP for an organization that wants to engage with an MSP is do it locally. Find you a good, because community means a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you're in the same community and you know a lot of the same people, you've got an advantage there of trust, basically.
Yep.
And
you might see this person out at the grocery store.
Yeah.
It's not like you're never going to see them
or
again.
the fair, right?
Yeah, the baseball game or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
You don't get to just leave town.
In Richard's case, the local pub.
But that also has downsides, because if I am at the local pub and a client walks up, he don't want to talk to me about, how my day's going. He was like, hey, I got this issue.
Yeah. Not going to lie. I've run into a couple of clients at like the HEB and I'm just like, nope. And love y'all, but nope.
Call me Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
or call the IR line.
Yeah, exactly.
We got somebody on duty.
That's okay though. My wife, love my wife so much. For so many
Good
years.
Save.
Yeah. For so many years, people would be like, what does your husband do for work? And she would say, he fixes computers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I say too.
You cannot say that.
No.
You cannot say that.
Oh, yeah.
Brazos and I live in the same little community. And
you become everyone's IT guy.
When he came to work for us, I remember telling him, I was like, oh, look, I know where you live. I know your neighbors. Don't tell him you work in technology.
Nope.
You will never have a weekend.
All of a sudden, like if it has electricity running through it, you're the guy
You're
call.
the guy. You are the guy.
I work in technology.
Yeah.
That 80-year-old woman down the road.
Yeah.
You can't say no to her.
That's
No.
exactly
You cannot say no to her.
Like my neighbor, God love him, and I do. I love him to death, but he is technology illiterate. He got a new smart TV, but he doesn't have internet.
Yeah.
And he wants to know what's so smart about it. And I'm
It's the dumbest TV I've ever seen.
I get channel 10, channel 6. I don't understand why I got to pay $1,000 for this thing. Did you put an antenna on it? You think that would help? You could try.
Yeah.
That's when it's bunny ears.
Yeah.
It's bunny ears on that thing. It'll be good.
Exactly.
Or like the tinfoil antenna.
Exactly. But those kinds of relationships, I think anybody thinking about opening up a technology business like an MSP, the first thing is, find your niche.
Yes.
Find out what you're doing that nobody else is doing or the big companies aren't doing. and then exploit that, because there's going to be a need for that. The other thing that I will say, something I found out the hard way, you probably did too, is don't expect millions of dollars in your first month.
No.
You are going to struggle for sure.
MSPs are built on one core metric, and that metric is MRR.
Yeah.
Okay. MRR over time, this is a beautiful thing. This is what makes MSP special is. So yes, in years 1 through 3,
Yeah.
it can especially be a real struggle. You're not going to see all of the benefits of your hard work.
Yeah.
But what I'll say is, after you've built it, and if you build it right and you maintain it right and you do the things you should do, what you can create is a lifestyle for yourself to where you have built something that's solid.
Yes.
That's you're not waiting on a PO for the next 3 years and hoping, fingers crossed, something will happen.
Exactly.
You've built something consistent.
You will have, in our experience, you will have those moments where, especially early on, where you're going, man, I hope I get that deal.
Yes.
Right. I really need that deal to come in.
Yes.
But you're absolutely right. What you're doing, especially in the first 3 years, is building that foundation. And specifically, what you're building the foundation on is trust. I can't tell you how many gigs we did early on for free.
Yep.
Just free of charge to trade a logo for services.
Yep.
And to build that trust.
So I'll tell you, my job for many years was to train and coach brand new MSP owners how to get kind of started, how to kick this off. So I'll tell you the exact same. This was the secret sauce thing, and I'll tell you exactly what I told them. So I go, great, you're local, you want to focus there, you want to kick your business off. I said, you've got a dentist, right? Okay, probably been going there for a couple of years, maybe your family's been going there. I said, here's what you do. You go to that dentist, maybe has 15, 20 computers or so in the office. And what you offer is, hey, I just opened a local business. I'm here in the community. Obviously I've been working with you for years, as a patient. Could I, free of charge, could I bring my team in here? Could we do an assessment on your network? I just want to do this. If I can do this right, and you let me service you for 6 months, whatever it may be, and I do a good job, would you give me a referral?
Would you recommend me?
Would you recommend me? Can I put a quote on the website? Can I do some things? Because I'll tell you what you can build from that. And I'm telling you personally, I've watched people build $1 million plus MSPs off of starting from a simple, easy little icebreaker relationship like that.
Yeah.
Because everyone's got a dentist.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. For us, schools was the thing that we started with. And it was a matter of, look, we understand education. We also understand cybersecurity. We understand that you're being overlooked by the big guys. Dell SecureWorks is not going to look at you for less than $80,000. But let me come in and do an assessment for you. Let me do a security assessment for you. Let me tell you what I see objectively for free.
Yep.
If you like the report that you get, I want permission to use your logo on my website and a referral, if you don't mind. Right.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 that worked. Hell, Brian, I did a gig for a local pizza shop here in Waco.
Yeah.
We buy pizza from them still to this day.
We do. I mean, and the deal was that I got a call from them. I used to frequent their bar quite a bit. And
This is a trend.
Yeah.
Now I know where your guys' business all came from.
Yes.
That's why we sit above 3 pubs.
Yeah.
But I got a call from one of the owners that said our POS crashed. I'm like, oh, that's terrible. It's like, no, I like, we need this for business. And it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. We open at 10:30. We don't have a POS, and we're getting this kind of error. And I looked up the error and I was like, oh, that's a corrupted hard drive. Your POS didn't crash. Your hard drive is jacked.
Yep.
So I went up there and pulled the hard drive, put a new hard drive in. We reconfigured the whole thing in a matter of 30 minutes, and they were extremely grateful. And I was extremely grateful that they called me. They said, "What will you charge?" I said, "Look, if everything works like I think it should, why don't you give me a pizza and pay for my bar tab the rest of the day. And I sat there and drank beer, ate pizza, and they had a POS system that worked. But more importantly was I took that logo, I put it on my website, and they were happy.
Yep.
Right.
Well, the another interesting thing about what I think is important from the MSP perspective, because we do see this a lot in some of the larger ones, and I think if you're just starting out, you probably want to be kind of wary about going and just trying to get all of the different software that you're going to manage or all this different hardware. Pick just a handful of vendors that you're going to deal with, establish a relationship with those vendors, and get to know the software and hardware that you want to work with, because you'll stretch yourself really thin really quickly if you start working with, I can do Cisco's, I can do FortiGates, I can do Sonic Walls, and you'll yes, eventually you may be able to get to that point where you've got a number of people that can work on all these different sets of equipment. But when you're just starting out, make sure, because it also allows you to do the service side really, really well.
I agree.
Whenever you're going into that location,
you're
specialized. You know, when you walk into that shop, it's like, hey, you've got a FortiGate. I can manage the heck out of that. I know how to do that. So whenever you call me, I'm going to give you the service that you deserve and expect from my service. So I think that's also really important, is that specialization when you're just starting out.
So I think one of the hardest lessons to learn, and this is hard, and I say this from experience. Richard, you've probably been there too. I know what it's like to be that MSP and waiting on that to get that $200 a month deal. Dude. And you're like, I'll do anything to get that $200 bucks.
Absolutely.
I'll manage whatever you want. I'll do it your way, because you're just trying to make it.
You're hungry. Yeah.
But at some point, and Brazos has talked about this a couple of different times today, at some point, you have to be able to say, look, I've learned a few things in my time. I've found vendor relationships that are strong. My team is trained in specific processes, software, policies, procedures. So here's what I'm going to tell you, Mr. Business Owner. I want to do what's best for you. This isn't about making a buck off of a special rebate or some other thing. My team knows this stuff well. So I get it that you just bought a Sonic Wall, or you just did this, or someone told you to do this. What I'm going to tell you is you're going to save a lot of time, money, and heartache by just doing it the way I'm going to tell you to do it and using my tools.
You bring up a good point there, because this is something, one of the reasons why Brazos is in the position that he's in right now is a hedge against me, because one of the things that you develop as an early MSP owner, as an early technology business, cybersecurity business in our case.
He's about to say why I yell at him so much.
You do get, I remember making special trips to the post office looking for the $500 check.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and those were good days, man. Yep. Those were really, really good days. And I remember those days. And one of the things, and that was, that's been 10 years ago, but I've still got PTSD from all of that, right? I've got a level of, if I price it too high, they're not going to buy.
Yep.
Yeah. Right?
Sits in the back of our brains. Never goes away.
Regardless of the service level, the number of clients we have now, the penetration that we have in the market, it doesn't matter to me, because I went through the period where beans and rice were, that was the meal of the day.
Yeah.
And one of the things that as an MSP owner, if you do go down that track, is you got to remember, and it's going to be hard. I don't know anybody that would necessarily even recognize it, that at some point your institutional knowledge becomes way more valuable.
Yep.
And you have to take that in consideration. I'm still in the mindset of I'm still trying to make it in my head, right? That's why Brazos is where he's at, because he understands the value that we bring, and he can put a price on that value. Now, it's still way under what market would normally bring when you're talking about our competitors. But if you are starting a MSP, or if you've been an MSP for 4 or 5 years, you've already gotten past the hump.
Yes.
Right? Start thinking about what you actually deserve.
Well, because what you do there and what you did in that amount of time, and what you guys do as a team. So I've always said, I've seen MSPs try to negotiate different types of deals, especially with their vendors. Saving 10 cents an endpoint here, 5 cents an endpoint here. I've seen it. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to argue that by any means. Yeah. But here's what I'll say is, where MSPs make their money is efficiency. If I can be as efficient as possible with my staff, with my team, then I can price it right. I can get EBITDA where I need it, and I can run a smooth business. Saving 5 cents on an endpoint. Well, don't get me wrong. It trickles itself to the bottom line down the road.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the same impact as we just brought in another tool that we don't use, that we're not familiar with, and now we have to create a manual process around how we alert on that and trigger that and remediate that.
That 5 cents that you're going to spend a lot of time negotiating that, right?
Yes.
That 5 cents that you're saving per endpoint, that's going to matter at a PAX 8 level.
Yes.
It is not going to matter at a 100 client level.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. That's not what you're chasing there.
But saving 2 headcount?
Yes. Yeah. That matters.
That matters.
Well, absolutely.
It's one of the things on when we've talked to other organizations, other MSSPs or MSPs, and we always think it's very interesting the way they run that is I've mentioned it several times when I know I've talking with you or other vendors is they'll add something that adds an additional click. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Because the idea that I have in my head is that if I have to make my SOC analysts or my tech services guys have an additional click, that one click over a year adds a lot of time.
It does.
And so if we can find things where we're not have one single pane of glass or everything, I don't have to navigate to 6 different consoles because I'm managing one tool, not 6. I don't have to have my guys log out, log back in, log out, log back in.
The majority of Ty's time spent in operations is, one, wrangling the nerds, but two,
Professional nerd wrangler.
but two, keeping the metrics on how many clients per analyst.
Yeah.
And is that increasing, decreasing? Who's overwhelmed, who's underwhelmed, right? How many alerts per client are we getting? And is that client, do they need more labor than normal?
Yep.
Those type of metrics.
How long
there.
are those calls? What's our time to resolution? All the
Exactly. Yep. And as an MSP, you're going to have your quote unquote problem clients, those clients that require more time than average. And then how are you going to supplement that, and how are you going to price that out? Are you going to gain efficiencies and just absorb that additional cost on that? We've actually taken the approach of the latter, where our model is that for clients that need more time, and there's no doubt there's clients that need more time than others, but we smooth it out.
Yeah.
And it
You're nicer than I am. I used to charge a fee.
Yeah.
I had some very specific people, and they knew it.
Yeah.
And I was like, so just so you know, we will continue to service you the way that you want.
Yeah.
There's a fee that's associated with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're nicer than I was.
The problem is I had all the problem clients on one team. Say problem, it's not.
Well, that is true. Rebalancing the clients per team and all of that. But
I recently did a rebalance.
I do have a question for you though. When should the MSP drop a client?
Ooh, this is a great one. When to say no.
Yeah.
Or when to say,
or just say, you know what? There's nothing more we can do.
Go ahead and keep your money.
Yeah.
Yep. So again, I'll go back to it is an incredibly hard thing to do as an MSP, turning down and letting go of money that you already have, especially recurring revenue. What I'll say is and I'll give a good example that I've actually done in the past. It's not frequent, but it happens. So let's say you go to onboard that client, like we talked about earlier. They're running Windows XP. They got AS400s. They've got a lot of things that are out of whack. And you say, here's the deal. You came to me. I want to help you become secure. I want to tighten things up. I want to do this. I'm going to do my best to keep this cost effective. And they say, great. So they agree to a roadmap. That's typically what I would do, is I would say, we're going to both agree on a roadmap. If you start walking down that road together, and that other person on the other end begins to continue to ignore the roadmap, doesn't care about what's going on, just wants to be functional. Side note, I had a customer get ransomware 3 times in a row
Jeez.
within 3 weeks. And we remediated each time and built them. They refused to implement the things I told them to implement. Yeah. And again, going back, eventually I'm like, as much as I love charging you every week to do this, in good conscience, I just cannot continue. So again, it goes down to like, sorry.
No, you're good.
It goes down to when you guys are not on a partnership path. I look at MSP and customer, not as MSP and customer, but as partnership. It is, we are going to work together to help your business, because this becomes not just about technology anymore.
Right.
When I come into your business, sometimes the way I help them, sometimes it could have to do with their financial software. Sometimes it's their productivity suite and operations. Sometimes it could be different things.
Right.
So when we come and our businesses are no longer walking a partnership path together, and you're putting my team at risk, you're putting my business, my liability, my compliance, these things at risk.
There's reputational risk associated with a client.
Yeah, because even if you do everything that you just said, you follow that to the T, when something happens, they're going to blame you.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know that they would. I don't think it depends. They may blame you. And look, there is a school of thought out there that organizations hire cybersecurity companies to take the fall.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Because
they're
it's not a matter
outsourcing the risk. Yeah.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I think I saw some anecdotes about CISOs being hired strictly for that. They're the guy, they're the C-suite that gets kicked if something bad happens.
You are hired as the fall.
You're the fall guy. Exactly.
I did want to mention something specifically regarding kind of that idea of like when someone's choosing not to walk the path, because we found this especially in the education space. When you're
Can we call that the Tao of Brian Kane now?
Sure.
Okay. the way of the Kane.
The way of the Kane. One of the things that we find is a lot of times we'll come in and we'll make the recommendations to the IT folks that we're dealing with, and they're like, "Man, we'd love to do this. What you want, we'd be backing you all day long. We are backing you, but." A lot of times it's like the executives or the board that won't let it happen.
So, but there's also those instances where they have, it's a manual thing they have to do. ACLs is a prime example of this, right? Where there's no technology that you need to deploy. There's no added money in the budget that you need. You just need to put in some ACLs.
Yeah.
Right? That's a thing that happens. Or patch your systems, right? That's a good one. If you've got an RCE sitting out there and there's a patch available for it, go ahead and patch it. For the clients that refuse to do that, what I'm saying is, an MSP, you're going to run into those issues, right? Regardless of, you can talk about clients being retired on the job, whatever. They're just not going to do anything, or you're hired as the fall guy just in case something goes wrong, or the misconception of, I hired a security company. They've got MDR, EDR, XDR, name your DR.
Yep.
And they've got it deployed. So I'm good. I don't have to do anything any longer.
Yep. So I've written many a cybersecurity policy in my day.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm very clear about, there's a technology aspect to it, but there's very, very much an operational aspect to it. I can give you MFA, I can protect, I can encrypt, I can do all these things. But if you leave documents out on your desk, if you leave your computers unlocked, if you do not follow the operational steps along the way and you commit to those, nothing is there is nothing out there that is foolproof.
Right. Brian, they in the what the kids are calling it now is OPSEC.
Yeah.
Right? Operational security. Yeah. And it's a real thing. And I think it's a real thing that MSPs have to deal with, is that, look, and we talked at length prior to the podcast about the disconnect between the perception of the client and the MSP.
Yes.
Especially when you're talking about something like EDR. And it doesn't matter what EDR it is.
No.
It could be the world's greatest EDR on the face of the planet. Threatdown. You're welcome, Marcin. The MSP may sell that. the client is going to think their perception is I've got EDR, I'm good.
Fully protected. Someone's watching me 24/7.
Right.
End of story. Regardless of what the MSP has actually said.
Right.
It's the perception.
It is the
I signed
perception.
an MSA agreement with you. My understanding is 24/7 now. Someone is just watching this.
Exactly, and that's not the reality for most MSP. Traditionally, traditional technology MSPs who will sell cybersecurity products. That's not necessarily the case for the most part, and so you have to be careful as an MSP about what the perception of the client is when it comes to stuff like cybersecurity. Because it's a lot more than quarantining viruses.
Well, we spend a lot of time generally whenever we're doing a demo or we're first talking to an organization, and we very clearly state during that demo, because we don't want to oversell it, we set expectations. I mean, there are sometimes a client will ask me, does it do this? And I'll just flat out say, no, it doesn't. And the idea is that I don't want them to expect when they purchase this product or this service something that we're not going to do, because it ultimately is going to be a problem if they realize that, oh, I wasn't getting that. So we spend a ton of time like outlining exactly how we handle things, because again, the service and the trust is the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So most MSPs, I'm sure Scinary included, they give out an MSA.
Yeah.
So when a customer comes on, they get an MSA. The problem is when I talk to a lot of MSPs, they feel that the MSA just protects them from everything. Mm-hmm. And the MSA can protect you from a legal perspective for a lot of specific things. But here's what a legal MSA doesn't protect you from. Perception.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, reputational damage.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Because again, it doesn't, you can say like, well, technically in the contract, it actually says, if this happens, then great.
Dallas Morning News is not going to run with that, right?
No.
Well, in the contract,
Well,
the headline's not going to.
technically.
Yeah, the headline is never going to say, well, in the contract.
Yeah.
I mean, the MSA, again, you're saying what that is, but that piece of paper is not going to build back that burnt bridge.
Exactly.
Like there's no way for that to happen.
Damage is done.
And it doesn't. And it's a risk for MSPs, and you're almost going to have to accept this risk, because I don't know any way around it, because what you're doing is as a technology MSP, you're dealing with primarily the technology director. If you're not dealing with the technology director, they don't have a technology staff. You're dealing with like the CFO,
The
CEO.
owner,
yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And they don't have a clue to begin with. So if something bad happens, you're the dude.
Their assumption right out of the gate is you are taking care of this, because we're starting to see this more. I'm seeing this trend change. For a long time,
Brazos, we need to raise our prices.
So a trend that I saw for a long, long time is some of my best clients were exactly that, IT directors.
Right.
Because they've gotten over the whole, well, the MSP's here to steal my job, like blah, blah. No, we're not. We're here to supplement. We're here to make you look good. The problem is this. We are seeing a transition. The day of the sysadmin,
Done.
it's done. It's gone.
Yeah.
They're no one's hiring someone to manage Active Directory on a server anymore. Not happening.
Right.
It's gone.
Right.
So what happens is, yes, the good news for MSPs is this. MSPs are going to continue to grow. The demand for them is going to continue to grow into I think it's projected to be trillions of dollars. Okay?
There's no doubt.
So that's going to grow. But here's what's going to come along with that. You're going to have the MSP being the primary source of all IT management, operational, all this stuff. And they're going to be working directly with exactly what you said, a CFO, an owner, whatever it is. There is not going to be a bridged gap in between. You're going to be talking to the office manager or the receptionist.
Exactly.
And then
Like that's who you're dealing with.
The problem with that ends up being now you've got all these MSPs. It's like, it's really important to stick with a single MSP, or at least MSPs that aren't going to combat each other, because something that we run into sometimes is, so we're a service provider, obviously we're providing our services, and we're like, okay, we need you to do this, this, and this, and your network will be relatively secure. It'll be fine. Well, then you get the other MSP who is now responsible for actually implementing the things that we've recommended, and they're just like, no, we're not going to do that. And so the client's just like, but the security vendor wants you to, and the MSP's like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's like,
Yeah, I
come
think
on. So now you're going to start seeing more of that, and it's like,
Yeah, so back when y'all were infants, when Brian, Kane, and I were, kind of building our stuff up,
not that, not a baby.
everything was moving to the cloud. That was the big thing. We're moving to the cloud. I remember Dale in the doing the thing. It was the big cloud and the commercials
That
at
was
the
like
Super
high school
Bowl.
for
And
me. It's fine.
yeah, but you're right. It's now everything is moving to the cloud. I mean, AD, Azure, all that stuff is moving to the cloud. But what did not transfer was the skills to manage all that crap. So MSPs have to come up with it.
So whenever I do talks, I love going out and doing talks and talking to people about cybersecurity, and it's something I'm passionate about. One of the slides that I have that I usually end with, by the way, if you ever see me speak, like 90% of my slides are just memes that I made. Okay.
That's pretty much how I do my presentations.
My presentation is like 90% memes.
Just
Well,
in
anyways,
the QBR I did. It was great.
at the end, it's the dude in the middle of like the crowd at the concert, like looking like this. And it's like, hey, like the cloud is just a computer somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it blows my mind because the thing is, I've absolutely had these conversations where people all get done speaking and someone comes up to me and they're like, hey, Brian, let me tell you what I've done. Like, I'm revolutionizing this. I've literally got all my apps are in the cloud. We're doing VDI. We're doing this I'm fully protected. Like, we've just handed everything off. Like, we have no more
It's just
liability or
it's
responsibility.
It's freaking magic.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the best thing. I don't have to do anything anymore.
Right.
And I'm like, you do realize that you still have to protect software that lives in other
Right.
places.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because your files, like, okay, well, we can pick on some names. We can pick
So,
on some names.
The biggest thing that got lost in the cloud translation is the shared responsibility model.
That's the thing, is that you can transfer your technology to the cloud all you want to. The risk is still yours.
Yeah.
So if anyone here has ever read either Google's EULA or Microsoft's EULA, I'm telling you right now, I've read this. It's hilarious. People are like, oh, all my stuff's in Google Drive now. So like Google's responsible for my stuff. Microsoft's responsible for my stuff in OneDrive. No, they're not.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you actually read through that agreement, you are still responsible to provide additional backup.
Yeah.
You're responsible
Yeah.
for, like, it is yours. Not only that, again, if you really want to get into it, there are HIPAA checkboxes. There are government things that you can do to separate your data and do different stuff. We don't have to dive all into that. What I'll say is this. When I talk to like just normal humans that
Yeah.
like save everything in Google Drive,
Yeah.
I'm like, you do realize like Google owns your stuff, right?
So
Yeah.
like
here's
all of your stuff.
Yeah, they
Here's-
own it, but if anything happens to
Oh.
it, no.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that my first run-in with Google Cloud was doing an audit of CJIS, Criminal Justice Information.
Yep.
And there was a small police department in rural Texas who was decided they were going to move away from Microsoft and go to Google for everything. And they had already made the switch. And I said, you can't do that. And I was like, why? I was like, so you have to store data, CJIS data, in a repository that's been approved by
Yes.
CJIS. It has to be encrypted, and there's all these check boxes that you have to
I think
check.
that's what your fifth one today.
I stopped counting. And I said, where is the data that you stored in Google physically? Where is it at? What's it at Google? I'm like, Google has data centers all
Yeah.
over the world.
It's in Norway now.
Yeah.
Or worse yet, Argentina.
Yeah.
Or, Vietnam.
Replicated
It's
to
replicated
yeah.
in Cygnus.
Yeah.
It's in several places all at once.
And so the level of, they're just uneducated about how the cloud
Yeah.
really works. But you're exactly right.
And you agreed to it. By
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
When you click that
Yes,
button, you
absolutely.
agreed to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're actually planning on doing a whole episode on EULAs because it's a lot of fun.
I met with the attorneys yesterday, and they were like, "We really don't want to do this." Like, I'll pay you. come in and talk about it.
Well,
Like, okay.
And they probably looked at Richard. Yeah, that was that could go unspoken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I just invoked our attorneys. That cost us $150.
Yeah.
right then and there. But yeah, I think that, the MSP, I love being an MSP. I'm very much like you. We fill a niche that our clients need. And it's a community. I feel like it's a community, at least
100%.
where we come from, that our clients needed us. We're there. We're doing the best we can. And 99% of the time, our clients understand that we are doing the best that we can. And they rely on us. And I think that's a great relationship. Getting there is a whole different story, right? You have to build that trust from day one up until now. And it still goes on. I've got clients that still have my cell phone number that call me directly, that talk to me about issues unrelated to cybersecurity, unrelated to anything that we can provide help with, just to vent about something that management is doing or not doing in this case, right? And that local kind of flavor to MSPs is crucial to technology, I believe. I really believe that.
I think, as long as you hold on to the fact that there is a personal human aspect to the thing that we all do, I think that is the most critical thing. When I talk about ransomware attacks, I don't run through all of the stats or just all the percentages. Those are there. You can create a lot of FUD and do all this. What I talk about is the small business owner that, has a wife and kids.
Yeah.
Who has, 4 or 5 employees.
Right.
And when ransomware hits them, it hits them hard.
Yeah.
It hits them personally.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
we've seen when we're reviewing those dark web leak sites, we'll run across these like small
mom and pops,
pop shops that were 1 or 2 people. And the unfortunate reality of that is when they go through that, most likely they're out of business.
Correct.
They
don't make
recover.
it on the other side.
Yeah, they can't recover from all that.
Going from, you've got your small businesses, but from our perspective of schools, there is student data that's sitting out there. There is a lot of responsibility and a lot of damage that can be done, both from like the organizational teaching aspect, but if all that data is stolen, I mean, you've got social security numbers of all these kids that now it is, and we've ran into this, kids going to apply for, their first car loan, or you trying to get a credit card or something, or they go and try to get into college. And all of a sudden they realize that their credit is completely destroyed because it was stolen in a ransomware attack when they were in middle school or high school. Right. And so there's that.
That's what I tell my creditors anyway.
I have a friend that had that happen to him. He found out he's had a credit card since he was 10 years old. He's like, I don't know how. Yeah. He's like, this is the first credit card I've ever applied.
Do you remember when COVID happened? Yeah. And we had several people call it?
I don't.
Well, okay. So the thing with
a bunch of whiskey.
Yeah.
Where the kids, the parents found out that when they tried to get the check for their kids, it had already been taken.
Yes.
Yeah, because there was breaches and the attackers went and applied for the I forget what they called that, like the check that the government was giving out. Yeah, so that was a whole thing.
PPP loan.
PPP or something.
Yeah, so there was a lot of that as well.
I don't know, but do you know, is there like a national MSP like organization that folks could look into? If there's not, we should start one.
So I think what I'll say is this. There's a lot of different organizations out there that bring like MSPs together in different ways.
Yeah.
What I would say is sometimes at the root, I'm not going to pick on anything. What I'll say is at the root of it, sometimes they tie back specifically to vendors, and eventually they turn into well, we're going to do an event, we're going to do this, and now we got to sponsor it, and we got to do this. But as far as like a pure
true .org,
like a true No one's making money on this. This is completely nonprofit.
Yeah.
Like, it is truly just something built to help nurture MSPs. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I just don't know that I've run into it.
So
that's what we have to do.
Yeah, I think so. I think so because I truly believe in one of the things that Scinary is built on is the community.
Yes.
And MSPs across this land, I don't care whether you're in Chicago, Illinois, you're in Des Moines, Iowa, you're in Detroit, Michigan, you're in New York, New York. Communities matter, and those communities need help. And if you're a technology guy and you're like tired of the rat race and you want to try this out, I'm going to tell you, and Brian Kane will also tell you, that it ain't for the faint of heart, but if you can stick it out, it is rewarding. I'm not going to necessarily say financially, but it is rewarding from a fact that you do get to plan out your own day.
Yep.
And you're helping folks.
That's the if I was going to leave anyone with anything when it comes to this, it is just that. Is I'm lucky enough, even though I work for a vendor, the beauty is they've allowed me to go out and do stuff like this. I can go be agnostic and evangelize and carry the flag for cybersecurity, for MSPs. And I'll tell you, like, I wake up every day knowing that I'm going to do my best to help people today.
Yeah,
that is what it's about.
Agree.
Again, we've said it about 100 times on this, but the trust between the MSP and the community and like who you're servicing is very, very important. And it's the thing that we talk about here. And one of the metrics that we are most proud of is the retention rate that we have. And that retention rate is specifically because the service that we offer is as good as we can possibly make it.
I will agree. And we're actually over on time, believe it or not. That episode went quick. Brian Kane, thank you so much for joining us. I absolutely appreciate it. When are you coming back?
Anytime.
From Phoenix?
Heck yeah.
All right. Maybe we
Phoenix
can
in a 2-hour drive. It's nothing.
maybe we can get an MSP to hook up a laptop and show us how it works with all this this AV technology.
Yeah, no.
Didn't we just say technology and AV are different things?
Yes, those are different.
Well,
those are different.
that
animals.
could be the niche that one MSP focuses on is just AV.
Hey, developers and IT guys are the same thing. Didn't you know that?
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, absolutely. Special shout out to Kendra Krause, who could not join us, but it was absolutely a pleasure meeting her as well. Brian, thank you so much. And for everyone still listening to us, join us next week when we talk about who's on next week.
So next week is EAL.
Oh,
wait, I believe that's not next week. That's the week following that.
So we got a free for all next week. The week after is the Ironscale CEO EAL Benishti, who will be with us to talk about everything AI in the world, which should be fun.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's going to be enjoyable.
I'm glad he joined us. So Brian, thank you so much. Tell Kendra we said hello, and we will see you next week. Say bye.
Bye.